my YouTube channel is Loser Band because I'm in the band Loser, and what I'm trying to do is do music related, especially Motorhead related content on the channel, because one band, one covers band. I'm only got so much content I can post, but original acts in the UK are doing some amazing things, and being able to share what I see when I'm out in clubs, and then have conversations with like folks like Nigel doing amazing work with his book. And also, I hope we'll get in this chat into some of your original work as well. Um, so let's start there, Nigel. YouTube. I had quite a few views and I had a few comments, and one of them that had me laughing hysterically, I don't know if you saw it, was about that fire extinguisher directly behind you.
Yeah, I didn't see that one actually. I've seen quite a few, but yeah. What was the
He's,
comment about the fire
uh,
extinguisher?
yeah, effectively, it's quite amusing to think that it belongs in that room. Like, there was a nice little emoji combination, basically saying "hit drum explosion fire extinguisher."
I see. Right. Yeah. 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 That makes sense. Yeah. I suppose being right next to a picture of Lemmy and then a drum kit on the other side. Yeah. Yeah. I could see that probably would conjure up a few interesting moments.
Yeah,
And it's
and
kind of leaning over
not
and
one
looking.
but two overkill.
Oh right. What was the other one then? Was it?
No. I'm saying there's two extinguishers on the wall, so you need
Oh yeah.
overkill just in case
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
double
well,
bass kicks in.
this is like my studio drum teaching room, and I had a student who many years ago sold fire extinguishers, and he gave me a couple, which was nice of him, and they've been here ever
Not where
since.
I expected that story to be going. I'm
No,
like, you
no,
had a
no,
student
no,
that
no.
did
You
what?
thought it was going to be something really rock and roll, like
Yeah,
students igniting and
yeah,
bursting into
yeah.
flames, running
He
out the
just,
door.
I kept
I had a
telling him
few
not to smoke in the room. He just kept bringing in bigger and bigger lighters.
like yeah, yeah. It could be something like that. That would have been a better story, wouldn't it? Yeah.
I liked your story. It was a good one. He's like, go on,
Yes.
here you go. Be safe.
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
Let's get an update on what we talked about last time, which is your book about Phil Taylor and the Motorhead years. The the discussion that we had was the content of the book and the influence of Motorhead, and your side of things. How has the book been treating you since then? Are you happy with the digital place it's living in?
Um, yeah, I mean, that's been very kind to me actually.
Good.
Yeah, it's still generating interest. What are we, 6 months after its release, which I never truly imagined would be the case. So, I'm very grateful for everybody who's got in contact with me over the time. I've made some new friends like yourself. It's been a real joy to be honest, and I'm really glad I did it. Uh, there is going to be an update, and that update will be to correct some of my moments in the English language, which people have been very kind. I've only had one real comment about it. I won't name who that was. Um, but otherwise, everybody's been saying really nice things. So, I can't ask for more, to be honest.
You dropped into conversation last time that because of the book you met or interacted with Filthy Sisters.
Yes, I did. Yeah, I had a few conversations with her. We were at some point, I was hopefully trying to get a little interview going with
Mm-hmm.
the two sisters. But unfortunately, for one reason or another, that hasn't happened yet. But I may well chase that up when I get round to updating and so on. Yeah, I mean, it was really nice of her to reach out, and she was very humble and said some really nice things about it. And I think I found writing something like that. I tried to keep it from my personal perspective as much as I could, so that I didn't really tread on too many toes. I mean, inevitably, you're going to get conflicts of opinion, and that's fine. I think when you put yourself out there in that way, you're always going to get that. And I've had to fight my corner a couple of times on one or two things that I've said. But that's fine, you know. What it shows is how passionate everybody is about Motorhead, and also Phil, you know. And he had an awful lot of fans, and I wish he could have seen that in his later years. You know, some of the when I was researching him, some of those interviews that I saw of him from various places and videos and stuff I had lurking around, uh, you know, he sort of he did do all right in the end, you know, financially from it all, but I think he did struggle for quite a while. Um, and it was sort of almost like a riches to rags story, I think. But then back to riches again. Whether that really bothered him, I don't know. I mean, from what I picked up, I think he was quite happy just to poodle around on and drum. But I think, you know, he had his sort of glory time, if you like, and it was nice to share that from a fan's viewpoint. And I think that that was a nice thing because I heard quite a few other things from other people. There was one of the support bands from the Ace of Spades tour, Weapon, got in contact and we had a little chat about stuff. And I'm hoping to get a little story or two from him actually at some point. And they're still going as well, Weapon. Yeah,
That's fantastic.
yeah,
And,
yeah.
and
I'm
and I
hoping.
guess that's where I was going with it is if you are able to do a reprise, adding some elements of people who kind of have a voice and helping them have their voice, that would be a lovely thing to do.
Well, that's what I'd like to do. I think I'm sort of waiting. Yeah, I know I've got a few grammatical things to sort out. You're always going to get that with books I write. I'm afraid my head goes 1,000 times faster than the typing, so I kind of miss stuff out. But you know, we'll get that sorted. That's straightforward. But I really want
Exactly.
to add.
That's the beauty of the digital age, right? I mean, it's an update. It's a click the button, and now you have the slight changes. But I mean, most 99% of people who try and start don't make a book, and you are a published author, so I mean, that's the thing to remember.
Yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate that. And I had a one guy who he got in contact who was writing. I think it was a book about Iron Maiden. Was saying the same thing that he's on in a year. He's on like his sixth update because you know people like to share, and I think that's that passion that's great. You know, that people want to sort of tell you their story, and I like to say I want to kind of share that as well. So it's almost like when you do something like that, you're almost like a custodian of collected knowledge and bringing that together and having the ability to publish it through Amazon is really handy. In fact, I had to thank a past piano student of mine called Tom, who showed me how to do it. And he said quite rightly that the hardest part of writing a book is the last 10-20%. You know, you get the thrill of coming up with an idea, you do all the writing, and then it's like, oh, have I got to edit it? You know, and that is tough going through your own work. And
Yeah.
it's funny how you miss stuff out because your brain reads it and puts the word in its place, you know, which is quite
Yeah.
interesting.
Well, having
Um,
having having someone you can bounce it off of helps as well because an external person will catch things your brain doesn't want. Right? You skip over it because you assume it's there. You're even as you're
exactly.
reading your own words, you're reading it complete and not catching the missing piece. What you shouldn't do as an author is get caught up on worrying about the edits. Don't worry about the edits, right? Make the
Okay.
thing real, put it all together,
Yeah.
and then after the
Yeah.
fact, pass it by a few folks and see if you can get some edits. But if you keep editing and re-editing, what you're going to do is you're going to be stuck in a cycle and you're not going to be finishing it. You're going to be too busy doing the third edit of the three chapters you wrote. Just barrel on, right?
I really appreciate that. You know, it's lovely to hear that from someone because that's what the little voice in my head says. You know, man, you don't want to be. You're the creative side of this. You're getting all the ideas out there. You don't want to be bogged down in all the
I agree.
editing.
Yeah.
And
Don't get
I
caught up
and
on it.
yeah, and I really appreciate that because I've got another book done. Funny enough, and it's stuck in that exact place you mentioned. I
And that was
kind
the
of have
next
a
place I wanted to go.
right. Okay, well, I have a real love with it. You see, Sometimes I really love it, and other times I absolutely despise it. So it's a
Well,
weird thing.
you posted a personal post and basically said, I can't believe I got this done. I can't believe I got this far. Where were you? How many thousands of words complete
It
and on your
ended
next
up being
project?
it ended up being 68,000 words, which was turned out to be about 240 pages or something. Um, which I tell
Phenomenal.
you what, it was a roller coaster ride writing the thing. I mean, basically, what it was, I started a PhD in ambient music at university, not that far away, and to cut a long story short, my mentor, my supervisor, quit education altogether, and I completely understood that. But with him, it took all. I spent a long time finding him, to be fair, because it was finding people in academia that like sort of dark ambient and actually understand what the hell you're going on about was quite rare. So we've sort of kept in touch, which is nice. But that kind of, I ended up going somewhere else, and it just didn't work out for me. So I left it for a couple of years, and then thought, no, I need to get this finished, and I did, which was cool. But it turned into something like 9 albums worth of material of music because it was centered around the creative process of writing dark ambient. And quite funnily, it did end up in the lap of heavy metal. Inevitably, it had to because it's me. And I kind of, denied it. But it was really like, I'm a massive Pink Floyd fan. And I guess most metalheads are, if we're honest. So
Hmm.
it sort of ended up in a place where I was listening to sort of extreme black metal and absolutely fell in love with it because a lot of those guys, like, am I allowed to mention Burzum on this channel? I know lots
I
of
think
people
so.
don't like it. Burzum of Mayhem,
Sure.
he's the guy who ended up in jail for murdering one of his bandmates and stuff. It all
So are
got
you
pretty.
saying you're giving me my first controversial channel moment where I'm going to get tons of
I am
comments
definitely
and
because
thousands of clicks? Excellent.
well, in all seriousness, I would check it out because I know YouTube had actually banned him. Yeah, it got really, yeah. But
Ah,
basically, he was into Tangerine Dream as well as wanting, and Motorhead and Venom. And what manifested out of all of that was basically Norwegian black metal. And I went on a roller coaster ride into that. It was great fun because it was like listening to a fusion of that, really. And it changed my whole perspective on the scene and how much the sound of black metal is related to dark ambient. So it was this huge kind of journey into that as well. So I guess to without spoiling the read, it's about falling into the abyss. To be quite frank, the whole book, it's one great
hmm.
big long dark fall that led to some really interesting places. I mean, one thing I ended up doing, which was one of the highlights for me, was performing at, well, it was what academics like to call it a symposium, but it was a heavy metalhead version of it. It was quite an interesting fusion. It was celebrating. They wanted to make a museum of heavy metal in Birmingham because that's,
Hmm.
and I agree with them. That's the home of metal when you look at Black Sabbath history, and it was celebrating 50 years of Black Sabbath. And they had this exhibition on in Brum, and they got all the. I mean, they got one of the guys who was running it was the past senior editor of Metal Hammer. So they had a fair old mix of academics with some big names in the sort of metal industry getting behind it. And I presented a paper on the creative act of writing dark ambient and its link to metal. And I ended up playing there, so it was like a real cool thing to do, and all these metalheads showing off their jackets. And I met a really cool artist as well, who paints actual artwork of battle jackets.
Oh,
So
that's
rather than
cool.
actually paint on them, he does artwork of them. And it was really good. So we got together and we did like this fusion. There's some videos on my YouTube channel, and the backdrop is his artwork. Um, and he also had a lot of that scattered around. So it was really quite an interesting thing. And I ended up doing this very dark, surreal Black Sabbath montage in sound of taking elements of like, Iron Man and what have you. But actually,
Hmm.
when you listen to a lot of Sabbath, there's an awful lot of dark ambient moments in there. So I kind of thought, well, actually, yeah, no, this is really interesting. It's almost like the underbelly of heavy metal, dark ambient. It's like when those moments we turn off the distortion pedal and these big synthy moments come in. So it's really all about that.
Very
Uh,
nice.
yeah,
And
yeah, it was great
over
fun.
60,000 words.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Congratulations. That's
There is
huge.
a small dystopian story in there as well.